And these subjective norms also have two components. The first one, we call it normative beliefs. And second one, we call it motivation to comply. And normative beliefs touch on whether or not our friends, families, our social circles would approve of the action in question or not. So this, our families and our friends, we call them the reference groups. And these reference groups would be anyone around you, such as your parents, your close friends, your school teachers, your buddies, or some of your acquaintances. And usually, the more likely our reference group approve of the behavior of the action, the more likely we're going to perform this act. So let's say if you feel all your friends go to the bars during the weekend, even though you don't quite like drinking, you don't quite like party, you may also want to go because you may have such a feeling. If everyone goes, I don't go, I'm the weird one. I'm the one being left out. And only these normative beliefs are not enough. It cannot be standalone. You also need this motivation to comply in order to perform this behavior. Okay? So this motivation to comply addresses the fact that the individuals may or may not comply with the social norms of the reference groups surrounding about this behavior. And depending on the individual's motivations in terms of adhering to this social pressure, the individuals will either kind of comply with the social pressure to perform the desired behavior, or alternatively will resist to the social pressure to perform that behavior if they don't have a strong motivation to comply. Let me give you one example to illustrate the interactions between these two factors. So let's say right now I'm thinking about doing some tattoos on my body. So I have two reference groups. One is my family, is my parents, and the other reference group is my friends. And these two reference groups, they have different opinions regarding this issue. Let's say if I want to tell my parents I want to do some tattoo on my arms, probably they're gonna have a very negative attitude towards that. They will say, why would you do so on your own body? So we can see that the normative beliefs from my parents are really negative. But if I go to my friends and I tell them about this thought, this idea, my friends will be, wow, that's so cool, and you have my full support. So we can see that the normative beliefs from my friends are totally opposite with the ones from my parents. They are showing a very positive attitude towards this behavior. And then, facing these two opposite normative beliefs, what should we do? How are we going to make the decision? Well, probably you may want to decide who you want to comply with. Probably at this moment, let's say if you are a teenager, you may want to get closer with your friends. So following this logic, the likelihood to comply with your friends might be larger. So the point here is the subjective norm is not only referring to how your families and friends think. It also has a component about whether you have a strong motivation to comply with the normative beliefs you perceive from your families and friends. And next, I'm gonna talk about a real application about these social normative beliefs in health campaigns. So in 1990s, the increase of pot use has become a really serious problem in the United States. So the American government, they wanted to do something to fix it or to improve it, especially for the youthful use and tolerance of marijuana in California state. And the scholars, they have done some kind of research looking into people's attitudes, especially the kids' attitudes towards marijuana use. And they found that attitude alone cannot account for people's bad behavior because according to their survey results, the kids, they are fully aware of the harm that the marijuana would do to their brain, to their body. But the kids are still doing it, are still kind of using the marijuana. So the researchers, they don't want to waste their money, their resources targeting for people's attitude because that's a totally wrong target. So they switched the target of their campaign from attitudes towards this social norm factor. So we want to do something to tackle this social norm factor, these subjective norms. And they did some deep and detailed interviews with the kids. And they found that the kids, they did hold a very wrong subjective norm. And the kids believed that everyone was using the drug, everyone was using the marijuana. And if you don't use it, you are aware, you are the one being isolated, which is totally wrong, which is totally off subjective norm. So to address people's, the kids' wrong subjective norm and correct, try to correct this bias, the scholars, they created a video targeting people's or the kids' wrong subjective norms. Let's take a look at this video, and this video can be found as the third video in today's module. Welcome back. So first you can see that the video talked about something like average kids like gummy bear, live on pizza, and trust their friends. So this is something really every single kid would do in the reality. And these lines can first catch, the teenager and the kids' attention and make them feel that, oh, this is something relevant to us. And these lines are trying to establish some kind of bonding or connections with their target audience, who is the kids. And after this bonding, after this connection, this advertisement have the last line. The average kid thinks everybody smokes it, but the average kid doesn't. Okay? And 4 out of 5 teens, they don't smoke pot. And this line reversed people's wrong impression that everyone is having pot. And they delivered the message that their assumption or their imagination is totally wrong, is totally off. And the truth is that most kids are not using drugs at all. So next time when you are offered a weed or pot, well, feel free, feel no pressure to turn it down. It's quite normal. So this strategy is pretty simple but powerful to reverse kids' subjective social norms. And let's do a little bit analysis of this advertisement. So the basic assumption of this advertisement is that they think that for some unhealthy behaviors, the problem is about people's perceived subjective social norms. And for lots of times, people's perceived social norms are often wrong, erroneous. And because of this totally off and wrong perceived norms, people tend to adopt groups' attitudes due to they want to get close with them. They have the social pressure to adopt the group's attitude or behaviors. So in this marijuana use example, the teenagers or the kids, they tend to overestimate the marijuana use among peers. So the aim of this video, of this campaign, is they want to convey the correct or the accurate norms, and they want to correct the kids' misperceptions. So after talking about these subjective norms, let's do a kind of activity or a question. So this is our first question for this week's lecture. So I'm gonna ask you guys to come up with at least 3 global unhealthy problems or health issues which are mainly caused by people's wrong subjective social norm. And I would like you guys to explain or elaborate on your answer a little bit. Okay, why would you say that this health problem or this health issue is primarily caused by people's, inaccurate or biased subjective social norm?